Hello, welcome to Kiln Farm Nursery. Paul and I set up this nursery about 18 years ago now, and one of the most important jobs to do is the watering. And that's why you find if you go to any nursery that usually the boss is the person doing the watering, because if you don't get the watering right, you lose all your stock. And it's a really hot day here in August, so here is my tutorial on some of the things to remember when you're watering your plants in your garden. So the most important thing about watering is how you water. You really want to make sure that you're watering the soil beneath the plant where the roots are, so the roots can really absorb that water. There's absolutely no use watering the leaves because the plant can't absorb it. If you're doing this, you feel like you're watering, but very little is actually reaching where it needs to go. So what you're looking for when you've watered is that the plant isn't waterlogged, but you can see that it's dark and damp all the way through. It shouldn't be a different colour at the bottom to the top. So another time when people actually only water the leaves is often when they're watering an evergreen shrub, which is in a container. And if you see what happens is the water runs off, especially when they're bigger than the pot, and it doesn't really get to the soil. So it's especially important in those cases to make sure that the water is right down in the base there. You might also find that you want to use a saucer, then that means that they don't dry out. That's good in the summer, but don't let it just stand in water at all times. Let it fill up and then soak the water back up. Don't just leave it standing in water because it will become waterlogged, and then that's equally as bad as having not enough water. The next thing is to think about when you're watering. It's equally important to water at the right time of day as it is to water in the correct way. So you want to really water when it's cooler in the morning, or even better in the evening. That gives the chance for the water to really soak into the compost and the plant to absorb that and suck it back up into its root system and into the tree or the shrub or the plant itself. And then that means that that's going to keep that nourishment. If you're watering in the middle of the day, you run the risk that that water will just be evaporating. And after all, water is a precious commodity, so why water the air? And this is another reason why you don't want to water in the heat of the day. So this is scorch on a cuba, and what's happened is where it's had water droplets on it, it's caught the sun, reflected the sunlight and become intensely hot and scorched the leaves. A cuba hates the sunshine, it much prefers to be in the shade, and so it is really susceptible to scorch, but a lot of other shrubs are as well. But don't just stop watering in the summer. We all remember to water in the summer because it's so hot, but especially trees and shrubs, they really need to still have that water right the way through the year. And often, especially here in Suffolk, we have really dry spells in the spring and the autumn, and often people can think that their plant is still alive because maybe the leaves have dropped off in the autumn and they're expecting it to come back in the spring, but those leaves don't reappear, and that's simply because they weren't watered in that time in the months where it was cooler but still dry in the soil. If possible, always water with water because that's what nature intended and that's what the plants like best. Another great way of watering your garden is to use environmentally friendly washing up liquid, and then we never throw our water down the sink. We always just take it outside and use it on our grass or our gardens. It's another way of preserving and reusing a precious commodity. I hope you found these tips helpful, and I think that if you manage to get the watering right, your garden will really appreciate it and you will reap the benefits by having a beautiful garden.